on something first because I don't want the press conference to be about this, and it's going to be about Rakim. It breaks my soul that he's not going to play for us, but I'm very clear with all my guys, not just the ones that have made mistakes, on a daily basis on what's expected of them. And I put in place a very detailed understanding as to what would be non-negotiable with me moving forward. And he's a great kid. He's got a great heart. Decision-making when he's got free time is a problem for him. And he made some poor decisions that put me in a spot where I couldn't trust moving forward. And he's an unbelievable kid. He's his personality, his spirit, great. I'll give you. I'm not going to give you details of some of the things I asked for him to do on campus, behind the scenes, because he wasn't at practice every day. Because I had him doing some other things. But for example, he had to pay for school, so he was never put back on scholarship. And he had to. I asked him, you need to get a job, and you need to hold a job, because responsibility and free time are a problem right now. And he was doing everything right, but he ended up making a poor decision, and the poor decision. I'm real simple, okay. I try to keep life very simple so I can function. Nobody has made more mistakes in life than me. But I'm a big believer that you better make mistakes, understand, listen, and move away from that mistake and grow from that mistake. When someone makes the same mistake over and over and over and over, that's no longer called a mistake. That's called a problem. And when I deal with mistakes, which is an everyday thing for me, I'm okay with mistakes. I can live with them. I'm going to stay in your corner when there are mistakes. When I start sensing problems, which is the same mistake over and over and over, I can't help problems. I got to get rid of problems. And that's verbatim what I tell our team pretty much once a week during the course of their careers here. I deal with mistakes. I eliminate problems. That's verbatim my line to the team on a regular basis. And my heart goes out to him because he's very dear to me. I'll continue to be a human being with him. But unfortunately, the privilege of playing basketball here, not anywhere else, here, he didn't meet kind of the guidelines that we both agreed to put in place before he agreed to come back. And so I couldn't do it anymore. So with that said, if you have questions about him, I'll try to answer them. Understand this now. If you have children, I would hope you wouldn't want whoever deals with your child speaking about your children's mistakes publicly. That's for him and his family. If they want to speak on it, I'm not going to speak on his mistakes. That's between he and I, and that's where it will stay at. But with that, whatever else you got for me, which, by the way, you know how you guys like to say coach speak? You know, that's media guy. That's coach speak. So I created media speak yesterday. So from now on, that's media speak. I can confirm through source of all things. I thought that was pretty good. I was bored yesterday.
Frank, I always saw the combine list, and Chris wasn't on it, but he's still free to work out with teams. Have you been in contact with him as he goes through this process, and has he given you any indication of how it's going with him and what his decision might be ultimately?
Yeah, I talk to Chris every day, Brian every day, both of those guys. Chris just landed in Milwaukee late last night after working out for Brooklyn yesterday. It's the combine's where you want to be at if you want to be if being drafted is a realistic option. He's trying to work. He's worked his way into where people actually want them to work out for them. Now he's trying to utilize these workouts to create a mindset from general managers that he's getting in front of to kind of push to get him in the combine. Obviously, right now there's no spots available, but as you get closer to the combine, you have guys that whose agents advise them, don't go, don't do this, don't do that. So it opens up slots, and the way you get in the combine is if NBA general managers push for certain guys to get in there. It's not Frank Martin. It's not some guy that has a draft board for a website. It's the actual general managers that demand what guys go to the combine. So hopefully a door opens up for him. He's great frame of mind. He's had Oklahoma City, Brooklyn, Milwaukee today. I don't remember where he goes from Milwaukee, but this will be his third workout.
Frank, can you give us any update on Brian's reinstatement process? And are you worried that maybe this deadline, the NBA deadline, is creating a difficult situation for Brian, who wants to do what's best for him, I would imagine?
If all options were equal, I don't like speaking for people. My conversations with him, his mom, his dad, if all options were equal, he'd be a Gamecock next year. And but there's an unknown right now. And this is what we're doing. We're going to get to the combine because he is invited to the combine. And when the combine's over, there'll be a more informed opinion as to the NBA option. And then probably sometime between the combine and the 30th, make a decision. Hopefully the NCAA's made a decision by then. We're not trying to force the NBA, NC2A. We're not trying to force them into a decision. We all know, that whole dynamic of everything, and we're sensitive to that. We're not trying to rush anything through or push something through because there's a talented player. We all understood this when we agreed to form a partnership. And I got to tell you this, what a great partnership. Just you guys are getting ready to start talking to him here pretty soon when he gets back off the road and all that. Emily and I have spoken about because he completed his first semester to make him available to you guys, even though we're out of season, but he's a different scenario. You'll see what an engaging, just simple, just humble person. But I can tell you this, you'll see it whenever he sits down with you guys here in the near future. Just loves being a Gamecock. I mean, absolutely loves it here. It's he's, to quote his mom, it's the happiest she's seen him in a long, long time. And which tells me that what the experience here is, the people that are in place here and the support system can create that kind of joy for him. That's what makes this such a special place.
Frank, when you have two players going through the process, what does that do to your kind of recruiting strategy, I guess, at this point, not only plotting for 18, but for 19 and further out?
And you couple that with the 900 transfers a year for the last 3 years, and, it's and I'm not against I'm not one of those guys that's anti-transfers. I'm not. Divorce is legal in this world. Doesn't mean that you hate each other. You just can't live together. It's so I'm not. I was a transfer. I'm not a anti-transfer guy. I'm not. I don't agree with how people transfer and the reasons for transferring, but that's a different animal. That's more a societal problem. That's not a basketball coach player problem. It's made springs complicated in our sport. You know, we used to recruit spring to figure out who to evaluate in July, to figure out who we wanted to sign in the fall. Now the spring and the early part of summer is totally consumed with finalizing your recruiting class to replace transfers and guys that decide to leave. You know, 6 years ago, we didn't have anyone that was good enough to enter the local employers combine. Now, you know, contrary to popular belief by some that we don't recruit the right players or whatever it may be, it's kind of fun that we've gone through a 2-year period where, you know, PJ, Chris, Bowen, Sindarius, you know, that now you've got guys that rightfully so are generating professional interest. There's a reason why we won games. It's we had better players, so you have to prepare for that too. And moving forward, there's guys in the program that we feel are going to have that option at this time next year again. So it's not a comfortable deal. You know, if you only were dealing with the possible guys going in the draft, it'd be a little more sane. But think about it. We're all out there trying to figure out how to keep our classes balanced, because you don't want to have 7 freshmen in a class, because there's going to be at least 2 guys unhappy as you go through their careers. So got to figure that out. And here's the more complicated thing for me moving forward, but it's a problem I'm prepared to embrace. I think guys should go in the draft and then decide whether or not to go to school after the draft. I truly feel that's, which I think was one of the suggestions brought forward, which I think is great. You know, we have to facilitate direct communication between the NBA and the young people and their families directly. So there's no third parties trying to convince people. See, because when you involve the third parties in the conversation, they're telling the players, Frank wants you to stay because he wants to win games, please. And they're telling the players, oh, I'm talking to this person who talked to that person who then spoke to that person who says that you're going to be a first-round pick. Please. I talk to GMs, okay? I know what the GMs say. And the information that's kind of shared with these kids through third people, we all know who the top 10, 12, 14 picks are going to be. That's pretty easy. But when you get to 25 to 35, that's kind of fluid. And you got to have real information there. And so I think these kids should be allowed to go in the draft and then make decisions, you know, after the draft, whether to stay in college or not. I think that – I don't know who gets hurt by allowing that to happen. I really don't.
Frank, you did touch on it. Attrition is maybe not a problem, but it's something that goes on across all of college basketball. With the transfers, is there a good way to try to stop that, or is it just kids? That's what they do these days. If you know, to go play. I'm just glad
that Sindarius didn't transfer, PJ didn't transfer, Carrera didn't transfer, Brian Steele didn't transfer, TeMarcus didn't transfer. I'm glad those guys didn't transfer. You know, I'm glad Chris Silva didn't transfer. I'm glad Mike Kotsar didn't transfer. You know, those guys have helped us build the program and win a lot of games around here. You know, they gave us the courage that we all needed to believe that we can go out and accomplish things. And I'm telling you, Dave, I'm not anti-transfer. I'm not. I don't sit around and say, oh, kids are transferring. I think as a society, we got a problem. You know, it's not a basketball problem. It's just a societal problem. I battle it with my personal children on an everyday basis because of the conversations that they have with their peers. And, you know, and that's But you got to manage it. What are we going to do? Cry and whine? You don't want to hear me give you excuses and complain. I know I don't like anyone giving me excuses and complain. It's part of the dynamic of the sport we coach at right now. I'm not trying to say, well, it's okay there, so it's good for us. But baseball used to have this problem where their roster would turn over every single year. Football has it too. The problem is football has 80 scholarships, so no one really pays attention to those last 20, 25 guys. Phil does, but everyone else doesn't. In basketball, we never had this transfer issue up until 5, 6 years ago. And since there's so few guys, and since they're not in school for 3 years, it's, the fans are closer. The players don't have ball caps or face masks. There's a different relationship between fans and basketball players because of all these things. And so it's kind of, I get it, man. Listen, you realize the amount of hours that my staff and then me to a certain extent put in away from our own families to recruit these guys? We don't want them to leave, but everyone's got to do what's right for them, because if it doesn't, if things don't fit, I don't care how hard you try, it's not going to work. And so.
You touched on a little bit of it, but what did you like from the Rice Commission that was sent, and were you disappointed that they did not address something you've spoken on in the past about player image and likeness and compensation for that impact?
Yeah, I don't think their place. I don't think they were put in place to resolve that. I don't think that was their mission. I think people on the outside wanted to make that their mission. I don't think that was their mission. I think some of the things that they brought forward, I was extremely pleased, because I can tell you it was a lot of the same things that at the NABC Board of Directors we have spoken about tirelessly. And unfortunately, a lot of those conversations were going on deaf ears. And hopefully now coming from this outside group of people that have heard from everybody, because they didn't just like sit in a room and have themselves say, well, I think this is what should happen. No, they brought in people that represent summer basketball. They brought in people that represent college basketball, high school basketball, different organizations that all touch our sport, and the NBA. And based on the ideas, the thoughts of all those groups, then they together formed opinions. And I thought that the things that were put in front of us were great. It's like they made a great suggestion, which let operations guys and video guys be able to get on the floor and coach. I mean, who's getting hurt? They're already employed by us. Who's getting hurt by them going on the court and helping kids? So take the month of July. My 3 assistants and I are basically gone for 3 straight weeks in July recruiting, because that's what our calendar requires of us to do. Our whole team is on campus in July. So who's around our players? Who helps them get better on the court? Because at the end of the day, they sign scholarships to come here to play basketball. Okay? So that means that the reason their school is getting paid for, the reason that we fly in private planes, the reason that they eat $60 meals when we eat as a team, the reason that all these perks come their way, that they have tutors and big-time trainers and big-time doctors and all these things that come their way, the reason all those things are in place is because they put their name on the line, because they wanted to play basketball here. How are we helping them get better? How are we helping them get better if me and my 3 assistants are all on the road, and then the other support staff that is on salary at this university is not allowed to help them? So I'm glad they kind of put that in there. It also assists us with developing coaches from within our staff. But I'm kind of excited that these things were put in front of us, because these are some of the same issues that in private we have spoken about as coaches, that we need to kind of pay close attention to and figure out a way to address some things to make the game better, to protect. You know, everyone's trying to destroy college basketball right now. Everyone, I shouldn't say everyone, some loud voices on the outside. You know, and like everything else, the negative voices are always the loud voices. We that are a part of college basketball, you know, like I'm one of the many in our business that took a job in college basketball making $28,000. I got a guy on my staff that makes this much, zero. That's how much his salary is. Okay, he doesn't collect a penny. He's a volunteer, but he has a dream of doing this, and there's no guarantee that at the end of the day you're going to end up with the head job of South Carolina. No guarantee. But you do it because of your love for the game, your pride in who you are, and your willingness to help others through college basketball. And, you know, I think some of us are tired of some of these outside voices, and we're starting to fight so we can protect college basketball because it's important to everyone involved. So we'll see. But I agreed with most of the stuff on there. I'm a math teacher, as you guys know, so English, there's a reason I went to math, because I didn't care for reading a lot. So I'm still reading that. I kind of read, you know, they probably didn't let me ride on the regular bus to school when I was a kid, but I kind of read a couple pages at a time because I want to really digest everything that's on there. And it's a big report,
Coach, how has the recruiting process and off-season duties for you been the last couple of months compared to maybe a year ago with the chaos of the Final Four run?
Yeah, I think I said this earlier in the year. I remember watching the Patriots win the Super Bowl, obviously not this year, but 17. And I'm watching Coach Belichick in his press conference, and they asked him something. I don't remember the exact question, but I remember his answer. You know, I'm sure everyone in the room was expecting him to say, "This is awesome. You know, winning never gets old, whatever." He said, "We're 4 weeks behind everyone else in what we're doing." And when we went through it, all of a sudden I get home and it's April 2nd, and you're a month behind everyone else in recruiting. And now you're dealing with PJ. You're dealing with the defections that we had. I think we had 2 guys transfer out after the season last year. So you're trying to complete your team. You're trying to get the right people in place. You kind of scramble. And before you know it, you wake up and everyone's on campus and it's August. And you're like, that was awesome, but I didn't even get to hang out with my kids for 2 straight days anywhere. Even if it's in the backyard, I just didn't get to do that last year. So, you know, we've had to kind of move around here in the spring to recruit. I'm extremely excited once again of you know, the guys that that we've signed, that we've released. Obviously, there was, you know, some other stuff happened in the last 24 hours that I can't elaborate on, but I'm really, really happy about that. I think there's some more good stuff coming here in the next week or so. So, you know, I'm in a good place. I'm in a good place with our roster. I'm really hoping that that I get to enjoy my family this offseason. I didn't enjoy my family I enjoy my family every day. I didn't get any time to separate from work last offseason. You know, I need to do that this year.
If you could elaborate on the 3 guys you are allowed to speak about and what they'll add to the program.
We'll start with the first one that made a decision, Jermaine Couisnard. I'm really excited about him. He reminds me of Sindarius a lot. His demeanor, his size, his game, he's got an edge to him like Sin did. I'm excited about him. can play the 1, the 2, the 3. Very similar to Sin. Very, very similar to Sin. Shoots it better than Sindarius did in high school. But I'm excited about Jermaine. He has a love for basketball. Not too concerned with outside perception. Really consumed with the people that are in his ear trying to help him. Then TJ, who I'll go to TJ. I'll say Alonzo after that. TJ recruited him all year. Back in the fall, we had Corey Holden, Rakim Felder in place. I didn't think we needed a point guard. When I had seen TJ play earlier in his career with Memphis East, Penny Hardaway's team, he was their leading scorer. I saw him playing AAU ball. I told him when I recruited him, he started laughing, so did his dad. He used to shoot every ball. Every ball. So he goes to Findlay Prep to be a point guard. I'm saying there's no way he's going to be a point guard. I've never seen this guy pass. And he made the adjustment, and he played like a real point guard. So as we got deeper into the year, and I started sensing that we needed to address that place, the point guard spot, I was real excited about him. 6'4", long arms, big hands. Cousinard, 6'5", long arms. Once again, some length and athleticism on the perimeter. Two guys that they both have an edge to who they are that I like. They both have a passion for basketball. They're both better than what they are rated, whatever that means. They know that, so they play with that edge because of that to a certain extent. And then the last one, I love big guys. I'm not part of this new movement of playing small guys. I like big guys, and I'm going to beat the living snot out of you at the rim every time we can. And when we're good, that's what we do, because I think that's where you win the game. You win at the rim. And you win at the rim by protecting it. You win at the rim by scoring closer to the rim. That creates opportunities from the three-point line. And Lonzo is he's 265 pounds. He's probably got the best hands of any big that we've had here at South Carolina. I mean, he catches everything, has a skill level to him, has nimble feet. He probably has to lose about 15 pounds or so. But that's, he was a heavy kid. I saw him, I went recruiting in Spain for the World 18 and Under World Championships, and he was playing there with Justin Minaya on the Dominican national team for that age group. And he was heavy then. And I was like, wow, he got a chance because he knows how to play. And he's changed his body around. I'm excited for Alonzo. I think he presents he's a perfect fit for us. He's tough, not fazed by contact. I don't mean to brag, but our guys get better. Our guys, the ones that stay, that want to listen and grow and be patient and all that stuff, they all get better. And I think as he continues to get better, I think he's going to be a real, real good player. Yeah, I'm excited about those three guys.
Frank, along the lines of your last couple of answers, how confident are you that no matter who's back next year, that you guys have a group that can take a step forward and get back to where you want to be?
Pete, I don't like. There's certain things I don't like speaking about in public, and that's individual players, because whatever in today's day and age, whatever you say, the people that understand the positive on your message kind of clap and stay quiet, and then the people that want to take what you didn't say, they get real loud and use it against you. So I got to be careful how I say things publicly when it comes to that. The guys that played the minutes are all coming back. Does that make sense what I'm saying? So, you know, we had a couple transfers the year before. We had a couple transfers the year before that. That's why I said I'm happy it wasn't Dwayne. I'm happy it wasn't Sindarius. I'm happy it wasn't PJ. You know, those guys earned the right to get on the floor. And, you know, PJ didn't play 30 minutes a game as a freshman now. But he didn't run away from it. He was understanding of it. That's where his family comes into place. They were very supportive of him. Real, that's the term that everyone likes using now, real with him. They kept it 100 with him.
Were they lit, Frank? Were they lit?
No, that's what I used to be back in the late 80s. But it's you know, and so they you know, big country with Sindarius. There's a lot of people in Sindarius's ear at the end of his freshman year. I told you not to go to school there. You made a big mistake. You're crazy. That guy don't know what he's doing. He's a loudmouth. You're not going to win. You should have gone here. Country and his grandma were like, yo, relax. Stay away. Sin, you're good. Well, I think we all understand where he's at now. And you know, I'm comfortable. I mean, you know, if Chris and Brian come back, it's not just their talent, it's who they are every day. I'm around it. I see it. There's a reason Chris has gone from a guy that played 6 minutes a game and he'd make an athletic play and 10 bonehead plays to a first-team all-league player, because he stays with it and he's learned and he's made mistakes, but he doesn't run away from them. You know, a guy like Hassani, he drove me nuts last year. I can't explain it any other way. And if I tried to tell you something different, you know I'm lying. Drove me nuts. But you know what? He'll be better next year. He was better this past year than he was the year before, and he'll be better next year than he was this year. It's just the way it works with guys that stay with us. So the guys that played are still on our team. And we're that close. I know it doesn't seem that way. I'm just telling you, we're that close. And, you know, we weren't good enough early in the year. So we lost a game we shouldn't have lost to Illinois State. But you know what? Illinois State wasn't a deadbeat either. Illinois State went nose to nose with Loyola Chicago 3 times in a row. And I think we understand where Illinois Chicago ended up. Loyola Chicago, excuse me. You know, we played bad against Temple in New York. You know, that wasn't a good performance for us on a big stage. You know, and then we got hit with the injury bug. No one wants to hear it. Ask the players that deal with me in practice if I kind of walk in there and create excuses. But it's the truth. And we had the injuries at the point guard spot. Get ready for conference play. So now you go play in the conference and you're playing with Wes Myers, who had never played point in his life, and David Beatty, who had never played point in his life, and you're trying to go play Ole Miss, Missouri, and Alabama, was it? I don't remember. No, Vanderbilt and then Alabama. And you're trying to play with those guys as your 2 guards. It just, we weren't ready. But by the end of the year, we're pretty good. We're pretty good. And, you know, but I'm comfortable. The guys that are in place, Justin Minaya, he's going to be so much better. We lost to Mississippi State at home last year. Justin didn't play. Once again, you know, injury. First he was sick, and then he turned an ankle. You know, so now here's a guy that's earned the right to be a major minutes a game. Don't play right in the middle of conference play. You got to manage all those things. It's part of the deal. But if for some reason half of those things, instead of all those things going wrong, only half go wrong, we're that close. So, you know, think about it. You win 7 league games and you're in the bottom tier. When I got in this league, 7 league wins got you to like 6th, 7th place in the league. The league's come a long ways too. And by the way, once again, we had the hardest league schedule in the league. That's 2 of the last 3 years.
Since you've been on a roll with this, with social media throughout the playoffs, I think it's right to ask about, you seem to be putting yourself out there in the Jordan-LeBron debate. In terms of mixing it up with some former players and coaches, where do you stand there?
You've never seen me pick a side.
I think you lean.
You might think. You haven't seen me pick a side. You haven't seen. I just like instigating. You see, that's what you guys don't know. When you're not around me, I love instigating. So I kind of love because Sindarius and Bruce and Tuggs and all those guys, they're all big-time LeBron fans. So I like needling them. So they get all riled up because they're young and emotional. I'm old and calm. Isn't that what happens to us, Phil? Old, beat up, and calm. So I love needling them. I think people who try to compare those two guys are out of their minds. Seriously, they didn't play against each other. They're in different eras, different rules, different games. Can you imagine if Jordan had played the way the NBA is today with a bunch of 6'6" guys at center? Can you imagine that? Everyone wants to talk about fouling. Jordan had to go finish at the rim over the best group of bigs that have ever played our game in his era. Patrick Ewing, Hakeem, Dikembe, keep going. He had to go finish at the rim over all those guys. Robert, keep going. It's Karl, the most incredible, Lane Beer, Mahorn. Go finish against those two guys at the rim. Good luck. So I'm not here. It's different. Yeah, it's different. Trying to debate one or the other and the mean one, the praise the other, I'm not going to get into that. If they have both played like 16 years and 10 of their years would have overlapped, then I'd engage in the conversation. If you were to ask me, how do you say, great players, that Kareem is not the best of all time? How do you say Magic is not better than anybody? Magic played 11 years in the NBA, went to the finals 9 times, won 5 of them, retired at the age of 31. Imagine if Magic had played to 37, 38. How do you say Magic's not the greatest of all time? I needle. I think with those two guys, LeBron and Jordan, I was a kid that was learning basketball when Jordan was Jordan. And now I'm an older guy that understands basketball as LeBron's done what he does. I think they're both ridiculous. I think those two guys are absurd. I think Magic, Kareem, Wilt. I mean, I saw Wilt at the end of his career. Are you kidding me? 100 points in a game. Look at his stats. It's I don't know. Seriously, I don't mean to argue that Jordan's better, but everyone wants to say about, well, they used to have hand checking. There's no hand checking now, this and this. Jordan had to go deal with the best group of bigs collectively that played in the NBA over an era. It was during his time period. And he had to go finish because the game was played differently then. It's not this. You imagine Jordan going to the rim and finding Draymond Green in there? Let's be honest. Let's be honest. You understand what I'm saying? And I love Draymond Green. I'm just telling you, I think that dude is about winning. And you tell him to play point, his team would win. You tell him to play center, his team would win. But I don't know. People making a big deal. Like I watched a game last night, and everyone's raving about Clint Capella. Can you imagine Clint Capella trying to guard Shaquille O'Neal? Think about that. I'm not leaning to Jordan or LeBron. I'm telling you, I've been behind the scenes with LeBron a little bit. and he's phenomenal. If you gave me one pick to start a team, I'd probably take Jordan. But I'm not entering into who's greater because they're in different eras, man, different deals.
Frank, when you're recruiting these days, has an AAU performance kind of over or superseded a high school team performance? How difficult is it to, you got to get a guy from an AAU team as opposed to what he does during a regular high school season?
It's two different entities. It's summer basketball, you play a lot of games and you practice very little. High school basketball, you practice a lot and play few games. So it's two completely different animals. And the less you practice, the less structure there is. It's just the way it goes. It's not taking a shot at anybody. It's if you and me play with each other 4 weekends a year, we're only going to understand how to play with one another that much. If we play on the same team 7 days a week for 6 months, we're going to get to a place where we understand how we play a whole lot better. So it's two different animals. You have to – I work real hard to evaluate them both. The talent, I don't know what the word I'm looking for, the fearlessness of that next opponent, because that's what summer basketball gives you. You end up on a court against the guys that people say are the greatest players. Here's the next greatest one of all time. All of a sudden, you're on the court playing against this guy. So you get a sense for how that person handles that moment. High school basketball, then you got to – that's who you live with. You can fool people into thinking you're a nice guy for 3 or 4 days. When you live with somebody, you're not fooling them. Who you are is going to be shown. So then you have to go, I still believe a lot, going into the high school, speaking to teachers, peers, see how they coexist as somebody. Because at the end of the day, college basketball, we don't treat it like AAU ball, where we all kind of get together and play a couple weekends a year. We live with each other. We share a dorm room. We practice together. We're around each other during the season, basically 7 days a week. So we have to have a feel for both. We're good? So is it confirmed? Is it confirmed? All, you see, here's my source right here. They're confirming. Now, let me ask you guys, because I told somebody that wants to put me in a conference call to raise money that I was in a press conference and I would be in my car driving to Charlotte at 12. Does your watch say 12? No. So why would they call me at 11:50 if they know I'm in a press conference? So when you get on the phone and you're sarcastic and chipper, then they get mad at you, Phil. They're like, they figured you'd be short. Oh, boy. Little to say. Sources said. I was 49 what?
Over under on how long this would go this way.
Well, you guys are asking questions.
No, 44. You went under.
I can change my whole demeanor. You guys want? You guys want? Yeah. Yep. No. I can change my demeanor, Phil. I can give you nothing.